markets themselves have been a little bit different. Have you guys approached them any differently and sort of, how you go looking at vendors and things like that because of, everything that's come out of this pandemic and just how the market has changed?
Just like our members and retailers out there, they've had to adapt over the years. And so our teams had to adapt.
Re-understanding the importance of face-to-face. Are you guys seeing that at market too? Like, is it the impact of those meetings or the face-to-face interactions? Are you kind of noticing that too as they sort of get back to what they were?
Absolutely believe that's happening, Rob. I think just sitting face to face with manufacturer partners, with retailers, with us, it's been a lot more productive.
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. The first couple of months of the calendar year are always super busy in the furniture and bedding space, particularly for our merchants in that space and the F&B team here at Nationwide Marketing Group. And not to be surprised, it took this long to get them onto the Independent Thinking Podcast, but had quite the time. And as we were doing it too, just more evidence that it was busy. Mike Derro, our VP in F&B, had to take the call from an airport because he's traveling around meeting with vendors and all that sort of stuff. But, nice to get him and Jeff Rose onto the podcast to talk about everything they've been doing. Obviously, starting the year, traveling to Las Vegas for the new showroom there that Nationwide Marketing Group has, and then obviously PrimeTime right after that, and coming off just a couple weeks ago now, they were at High Point Market. So nice to catch up with them, talk about the differences in those experiences and what they got out of, everything from Las Vegas to PrimeTime to obviously most recently High Point, and just the changes in the industry over these last couple of weeks, couple of months, and years obviously as well. So cool to catch up with them and hear about the trends that they're following, some of the opportunities that exist for members in the space beyond just product too, opportunities in marketing and getting the name of your store out there and all that sort of good stuff as well. So a fun catch up as always. Love chatting with our F&B team here at Nationwide and being able to share some of their insights with you on the podcast. So let's just dive into it. This is Jeff Rose and Mike Derro here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. All right, we are back on the Independent Thinking Podcast, and I feel blessed today because I don't have just one member of our F&B team. I've got two members of the F&B team, and that's, yes, two. Double the fun here today with Mr. Jeff Rose and Mike Derro, the guys at the helm of our furniture and bedding division here in Nationwide Marketing Group. And Jeff joining from home, Mike joining from the road. I appreciate you guys, no matter where you are, taking some time to chat with us.
Anything for you, Rob.
Yeah, we appreciate the invite, Rob, as always. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And I know we're just coming off we're going to dive right into it because there's lots to catch up on with you guys. I know you're always busy, always on the road. I think back to around PrimeTime. You went into PrimeTime having just traveled to Las Vegas market, right? It was Vegas market and then PrimeTime. And now you're turning around and you just had High Point market as well. So lots going on in the space first half of the year. What's it been like? And we'll kick it to you first, Mike. What's it been like these first couple of months of 2022 for you?
Yeah, so it's been really busy and busy for a lot of good reasons, right? So the consumer demand is still pretty strong in the furniture space. And as you know, High Point is really a furniture driven market as opposed to where Las Vegas market is maybe more focused on the mattress side of it. But the furniture space in general in 2022 has continued a strong trend that we saw in 2021, driven by a lot of the COVID factors, right, and benefits. But this market was really busy, maybe not to the pre-pandemic levels as far as foot traffic, but the majority of the manufacturing spaces we walked into were jammed with retailers and buyers alike. So it was great to see.
How about for you, Mr. Rose?
Well, it's Q1 is always an interesting time just for the Nationwide Furniture Bedding team because like you said, we got Vegas Market, High Point, and PrimeTime all rolled in basically in a 4 to 5 week stretch, and with with COVID and everything that was going on, we actually were looking forward to this quarter, because we were excited to see what was going to happen. Vegas the foot traffic was down, but there was a lot of good buyers there. PrimeTime was strong as always, and then we rolled into High Point, and Mike and Chad and Johnny and I, we really didn't know what to expect. And as Mike alluded to, traffic was up, compared to what it's been. The energy was back, and the manufacturers were real excited just to see things almost get back to normal. And I can probably speak for everyone on the team. We're glad Q1 is winding down due to all the travel, kind of get back to normal and starting to work with the manufacturers to drive the business. But all in all, it was a good 90 days. A lot of great positive things came out of the team and the furniture bedding industry itself.
Mike, you talked about it a little bit, the difference in sort of what you see between the two markets, Las Vegas and High Point. How about the experience as a team? Because I know we've got a big showroom out there that's happening at Las Vegas. What's the experience like for the team at High Point? Is there, for those that don't know, is there a showroom at High Point, or what does Nationwide do at High Point?
Rob, that's a great question. So it's a little bit of a different focus for us. You hit the nail on the head, right? So at Las Vegas, we have our own space, right, where we can promote some of our vendor partners in that space and also promote our business services and marketing in a location. And that's home base for us at the furniture market. At High Point, we don't have a space. So it really allows us and our team to not only meet with our current vendor partners that we do business with and support our membership, but we also get to shop the market, right? And so our jobs, Jeff and I, what we try to look at is try to fill the gaps in our product portfolio. And that could potentially be either a category that we're not currently deep in and or strengthen some geographic support for our member support. So for us, High Point was a really productive meeting because not only did we get to meet with a lot of our current vendor partners and kind of review where Q1 has been going, but also what we're going to do with them the rest of the year. We were able to sit with a lot of new vendors and start looking at where we can better support our members now with either new product or geographic strength in the United States.
What are you guys to that point? You get a chance to kind of walk around and explore some different opportunities and things like that. What is it right now? Were there trends that stood out to you walking around this show? This is to both of you. Were there trends that you guys noticed walking around, or areas that kind of struck a chord or made you raise your eyebrows a little bit?
So I'll take that, Mike. So probably the leading category in the furniture, on the furniture side of things, is still upholstery. We've got stationary and motion upholstery, and this was a good market for us to. You've got your Southern Motions and Jackson Catnappers who are really well known within the industry, but there's some fairly new upholstery manufacturers out there that had interest in us and wanted us to come by, and we were very impressed. And starting on May 1st, we've got some big announcements about some new vendors that will be coming on that upholstery side of things. Unfortunately, we don't want to announce that until May 1st, but upholstery, it's basically it's about 60% of what consumers are buying in our stores right now for our members. And so that's a strong number. And so that was a real big focus of ours, is to try to strengthen our portfolio there. Case goods is still strong, especially on the bedroom side of things. And what was really good about this market, if you look at where the industry has gone and where it's been over the past 3 years, it took off, but a lot of these markets are for new product introductions. And over the past markets, there has not been a lot of new product launches, because either supply chain, raw materials, all the litany of things that have been going on. And so this was a really big introduction for new product, especially on the case good sides. We saw a lot of new bedroom groups, a lot of, the traditional, the contemporary, things of that nature were ready to go, and got a great response. A lot of casual dining was launched at this show. A lot of looks I haven't seen in a very long time, that are making almost a rebirth, as you could say, back into the furniture industry. So that was really good to see. So all in all, very, very positive.
Yeah, and Rob, I'll elaborate a little bit. High Point's used by a lot of manufacturers to introduce new product and see how it's received by retailers and buyers, and they may not go into production unless they get a good response, right, Rob?
Yep.
Well, I can't tell you how many times we would walk and look at a collection and oh, this sold out on the first day. Oh, we're already sold out of this product here. So there wasn't a lot of product that we ran into that wasn't snatched up and bought almost immediately. So for me, that tells me that not only is the consumer looking for specific looks and feels, but the manufacturers are meeting that demand, right, with product that is meeting the eye of the buyer. So it was really exciting to see that. We hadn't seen that at High Point in the last 3 shows. So this is the first time we've really seen that type of comeback again.
And to that point about, obviously because of, the market conditions and supply chain struggles and things like that, just the markets themselves have been a little bit different. Have you guys approached them any differently and sort of, how you go looking at vendors and things like that because of, everything that's come out of this pandemic and just how the market has changed?
Yeah, Rob, that's a great question and a good call out. So, just like our members and retailers out there, they've had to adapt over the years, and so our teams had to adapt. How do we shop the markets? How do we bring product and manufacturers to the dealers or our members who either A, were afraid to go during COVID or didn't have the resources, didn't have the time. And so, we launched in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Market Live. We brought our Prime Media film crew in for the past 3 shows. And we filmed over 20 different manufacturers during each Las Vegas market on what's going on new product trends, just to bring the market to them. And then in High Point for this show, we did not do a High Point Market Live because we knew things were shifting back. And we were able to bring our whole team in and really look at new vendors, new prospects, really go out and see all the vendors that were there that are in the NMG portfolio about what's going on new, and putting all that together into a nice recap that we'll be sending out very shortly on MemberNet. So it's been a tale of 2 worlds throughout the time, but I think we've done a pretty good job of bringing resources to our membership so they could see what's going on, and then moving forward, getting back to kind of a normal market, as of this past show we just had.
Aside from, obviously the product intros and things like that are kind of coming back, and attendance as well. Less from the F&B side, more from like being at an event side. We had this experience at PrimeTime and, being able to reconnect and things like that. Kind of re-understanding the importance of face-to-face. Are you guys seeing that at market too? Like, is it when you meet someone there, sure, attendance might be down, but the impact of those meetings or the face-to-face interactions, are you kind of noticing that too, as they sort of get back to what they were?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that's happening, Rob. So I think while we were effective, whether it's being a video platform, Zoom, Teams, whatever platform you may use, I think just sitting face to face with manufacturer partners, with retailers, with us, it's been a lot more productive. And case in point for this High Point, again, we may come out of this with 3 to 5 brand new manufacturing partners that we can roll out to the membership. And, I don't think we added 5 in 6 months or 2 shows last year at High Point, right? So I just think it's starting to get back to where the activity is becoming much more in person. And, that translates, right? We support the independent retailer that's in brick and mortar, and we're pushing for the consumer to come in and experience and have a great experience with our members, and that's face to face. So it just translates into what we're trying to accomplish as a division and as a market.
Yeah, Rob, I mean, just as an industry as a whole, that's what we're about. I mean, we're a unique business, the furniture and bedding industry. And, that's how Mike started. It's how I started. We were on the manufacturing side where we were road warriors. We got in our cars and we went to the independent channel, door by door, sold product. And, that's been going on for the past 50, 60 years. And I think it's going to continue. That independent dealer, that mom and pop store wants to be able to sit down and look at somebody, talk with them about what's going on, with that manufacturer. And, it's unique, but it's been going well for a very long time. And we were glad to see that, the dealers were anxious to get in front of these manufacturers again, to be able to talk about strategy and product and things of that.
Well, kind of following up on that and beyond the sort of the market experience, obviously you guys are in touch with members every day and hearing from them. And we know some of the challenges that are still kind of continuing out the last, carrying over from the last 2 years or so. What other things are out there? What are members dealing with right now that you guys are kind of working on, or that kind of comes to mind as front and center right now for the independent retailer in the F&B space?
I think, I'll take that one of them and I'll turn it over to Jeff, but supply chain continues to be a challenge, more specifically in the furniture side than the mattress production, Rob. Actually, mattress production has almost gotten back to pre-pandemic lead times, which is great. The majority of those, especially our partners that we deal with that support our members, are mostly U.S. manufacturers. But on the furniture side, there's still a lot of domestic as well as international. What we're starting to see now is a lot of the manufacturers, Rob, are starting to look at different sources or different ways to get product into the U.S., right? So one of our bigger partners, Elements, right, is now starting to source things out of Mexico, and that's made a huge difference in their lead time. Whereas last year at this time in April, High Point, we may be talking to manufacturers where they were giving 6 to 9 month lead times on product. We heard a lot of now 6 to 9 weeks at High Point this go around. So even though our members are still dealing with long supply chain and lead time, specifically on the furniture side, that is becoming much better. And I think a positive to that is the consumer's been their expectations have been set of how long they may have to wait for certain product. So now our retailers will be able to start talking to them in weeks as opposed to months. And I think that's going to have a big impact for later this year.
Oh yeah, whenever you can say the word weeks and not months over the past couple of years, it's a good thing. But and then another big topic, Rob, that we unfortunately it's we're trying to connect the dots here to help out is personnel. I mean, it's just trying to find employees and just workers out there, and so we're as a division, as a company, just trying to connect the membership, because the East Coast might have different ideas than the West Coast, and we're just trying to connect the dots either PrimeTime or through member roundtables that we do throughout each quarter, just to share best practices on hiring practices and hourly wages and things of that nature. So if you're out there listening, please look for our next roundtables and webinars that we're doing on that front, because we get asked all the time, what are you hearing? What are some best practices that are out there? So, but I would probably say what you think, Mike. That's probably the two biggest challenges right now. And
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and certainly not alone in a space in that. We can look at any of the other divisions. I'm sure members would say a lot of the same. We're just coming off a HTSN summit and talk about technology integrators and installers looking for talent and shortages there. So certainly not alone. So the more these guys can talk and share amongst each other and themselves, the better for sure. So awesome to hear about those initiatives. It could relate back to kind of what you were talking about a little bit ago, Jeff, some of the opportunities that you saw or the trends you saw at High Point. How about opportunities? What exists as we look to unbelievably the back half of 22 right now? Somehow it's gotten here, but what are the things that you think a furniture and mattress retailer could look to, over the back half of 22 to sort of boost their business a little bit if they need it?
Yeah, I'll chime in on here, Mike, and then kick it over to you. So over the past 24 months, consumer demand has been super strong, and Mike and I and the team, we definitely feel that demand is still going to be out there through the back half of the year. Is it slowing down? Yes. You got inflation that just hit its all-time high, over 8% for the first time ever. So there's a lot of worrisome out there. So I think that there's some opportunities out there for our retailers on different ways of advertising. I think they're going to have to think about their business a little bit different. I think they're going to have to think about how to advertise this year, especially in the back half. For the past 24 months, they really haven't had to do much of advertising, and so different things that our digital and web services teams are doing. I think can be very beneficial. Take a look at, through our ad rocket platforms and, consumer financing, just different ways that, that consumers are shopping. I think we have a nice solution for that. Amanda and Aaron and Danko and that whole member service teams are doing a really good job with, because as you know, if you're listening membership, you are going to have to advertise in the back half, and you're going to have to think about it a little bit different. And so, I think there's just some good opportunity there, Rob.
Awesome. Mike, do you want to add any opportunities you see?
Yeah, I would say I think one of the opportunities is actually going back to the basics, right? And Jeff alluded to it. We're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown at retail traffic, but what hasn't changed, what businesses can focus on, which really hasn't changed in decades, is traffic, close rate, and average ticket, right? And so the traffic, which Jeff alluded to, is, what are you doing from a marketing perspective? Are you meeting the consumer where she is shopping and looking? And we've got the solutions for that. On the average ticket and the close rate, if you're measuring those, and specifically on the close rate, it only takes very small incremental improvements to have a big difference on top line revenues and profits for an independent retailer. And so the one thing I would say is, don't forget about the basics of just driving your business and driving traffic, making sure your salespeople are trained on the product that you have on the floor and closing at the highest rate that they possibly can, but also adding those accessories and the line items per ticket, right? Because, for example, on a mattress, if you're not selling sheets and pillows, that consumer's walking out and unfortunately probably going to Bed Bath & Beyond to buy that. So you have those opportunities to add to that ticket right now. And we're here to help support those.
Awesome. Well, I want to close with one question. I know Jeff's been privy to this before. It might be the first time I ask it to Mike Derro, but we'll have to see what the response is. Jeff, obviously you walk around, you see a lot of trends at these markets. Any closer to floating beds?
Oh, we're really going there.
Are we going there? Are we going there?
So, Rob, that's funny you asked that.
Exactly. Get him, Derro. Get him,
Let's
Derro.
Let's do it.
So there's actually a product that I saw a few years ago that's reverse polarity magnets. And so literally the mattress would float a few inches above a platform.
That's amazing.
So, yes. So
absolutely amazing.
Rob, our first podcast together 6 years ago, we mentioned floating beds. And here we go.
There you go.
Every time there's been floating beds, and you just didn't know about them to tell me. That's all. So we could have nipped this in the bud.
The technology is out there, Rob.
That's incredible. Well, I appreciate you both taking the time, and Mike, I want to make sure you catch your flight wherever you're heading. So I always appreciate you guys taking the time and sharing some updates with us. And we'll be together soon before we know it down there in Orlando, and maybe hopefully a little bit earlier before then too. So thank you both.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. And again, a big thanks to Jeff and Mike too, of course, for jumping in there from the Atlanta airport, the United Club, I think he said he was in. So no, but a lot of fun chatting with those guys and talking about the trends. And of course, interesting to learn that floating beds are a thing. So I guess I never have to ask that question again. But no, I appreciate them taking their time and sharing their insights, like I said. And as always, appreciate you listening to the Independent Thinking Podcast. And we'll catch you next time.